Before beginning a successful solo career, British musician Ozzy Osbourne fronted the heavy metal band Black Sabbath. Later, he rose to fame on reality TV as part of the Osbournes. As the charismatic frontman of the influential heavy metal band Black Sabbath in the 1970s, Ozzy Osbourne became well known for singing such classics as War Pigs, Iron Man, and Paranoid. In 1979, he started a lucrative solo career that attracted attention for his outrageous public antics and angered conservative organizations. Later, Osbourne gained a new following by appearing with his family in the improbable hit reality series The Osbournes. On December 3, 1948, John Michael Osbourne was born in Birmingham, England. He was the fourth of 6 children, and while battling dyslexia in elementary school, he picked up the moniker, Ozzy. Osbourne was forced to drop out of school at the age of 16, after which he worked a variety of menial jobs, including time spent in a slaughterhouse, as a result of these and other difficulties. He quickly transitioned to more illegal activities by committing a string of small-time offenses, which resulted in a brief prison sentence for burglary. Despite this difficult time in his life, Osbourne never lost his passion for music, and after his release from prison, he started to explore his vocal abilities. He joined forces with guitarist Tony Iommi, bassist Terence Butler, and drummer Bill Ward to create the rock group Polka Tulk Blues, which they later changed its name to Earth. Although Earth gained some local notoriety, record producers weren't interested in them until they started experimenting with the hard-driving, amplified sound that would later define the heavy metal genre. As another band was already using the band's name, they decided to change it to Black Sabbath, a nod to the classic Boris Karloff horror movie. Black Sabbath's self-titled debut album, released by Vertigo Records in 1970, was largely derided by critics but did well both in England and abroad. Black Sabbath's album, which featured standout songs like the title song, The Wizard, and Evil Woman, peaked at number 23 on the American album charts and the top 10 in the United Kingdom. Black Sabbath reached new heights with their sophomore album, Paranoid, 1971, which featured the iconic metal anthems, War Pigs, Iron Man, Fairies Wear Boots, and Paranoid. The album topped the charts in the UK and peaked at number 12 in the US. The band's public persona took on a gothic flair thanks to their use of religious symbolism and mythological themes. Additionally, they received ongoing criticism from right-wing organizations. This negative publicity only served to increase the band's appeal to its primarily young male fanbase. On the strength of such metal anthems as Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Snowblind, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, their subsequent albums Master of Reality, 1971, Volume 4, 1972, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, 1973, all found chart success and eventually attained platinum status in the United States. Sabotage, which was released in 1975, marked a downturn in the band's fortunes. Even though the album had strong songs like Symptom of the Universe and Am I Going Insane, it didn't succeed in matching the success of its predecessors. They were also forced to end their subsequent tour when Osbourne was hurt in a motorcycle accident, which marked this shift. Along with losing fans to the burgeoning punk rock movement, the band's consistent use of drugs and alcohol, mostly by Osbourne, contributed to the stress. Osbourne and his bandmates disbanded after the releases of Technical Ecstasy, 1976, and Never Say Die, 1978. Black Sabbath would continue to perform for decades to come under the leadership of Ronnie James Dio, Dave Donato, Ian Gilliam, Glenn Hughes, and Tony Martin, but they would never again achieve the same levels of success as they did during the Ozzy Osbourne era, when they produced some of heavy metal's most enduring songs. In contrast to some musicians who lose their fame after leaving the bands that made them famous, Osbourne's solo debut, Blizzard of Oz, was a huge commercial success in 1980. The singles Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley, the album peaked at number 21 in the US, where it eventually earned multi-platinum status, and number 10 in the UK. Diary of a Madman, his follow-up album from 1981, did similarly well. The ensuing tour, however, was plagued by tragedy, including a plane crash that claimed the lives of 2 other members of their entourage in addition to guitarist Randy Rhoads. Osbourne maintained his troubled loner and irate rebel persona throughout the 1980s, and his antisocial antics added to his notoriety among the general public. He entertained his audiences with raw meat showers and bit the head off a live bat on stage, among other antics. His persona and menacing music weren't for everyone, and religious conservatives frequently singled him out in an effort to highlight how bad rock music was for society. Osbourne continued to enjoy commercial success despite these and other difficulties, including a stay in rehab in 1986. His albums Bark at the Moon, 1983, The Ultimate Sin, 1986, and No Rest for the Wicked, 1988, all achieved multi-platinum status in the US. No More Tears, 1991, his sixth solo release, helped bring in the 1990s by reaching the top 10 in the United States and featuring the hit song of the same name. Osbourne declared that the No More Tears tour would be his final one in 1992. The success of the double live album that followed, Live and Loud, 1993, however, made Osbourne reconsider his decision to retire, and the album's performance of I Don't Want to Change the World earned Osbourne his first Grammy Award. He went back into the studio to record 1995's Osmosis, and the following year he started touring with the Ozzfest Mobile Metal Festival. By the decade's end, Osbourne's popularity was waning and he was still dealing with the substance abuse issues that had dogged him his entire career. The release of his eighth studio album, Down to Earth, which peaked at number 4 in the US and number 19 in the UK, brought him back into the public eye in 2001. Osbourne quickly increased his notoriety with his own brand of reality television. The Osbournes, which made its debut in early 2002 and focused on Osbourne and his family's domestic life, immediately became popular. Even those conservatives who had once demonized Osbourne were won over by the comic appeal of the elderly headbanger performing such mundane tasks as taking out the trash. That summer, however, it also took a more serious turn when Ozzy's wife, Sharon, was given a colon cancer diagnosis. The program ran from 2002 until 2005, winning a Primetime Emmy and rising to the top of MTV's all-time ratings. Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath regrouped for a tour in 2005, and the heavy metal legends were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the following year. Black Sabbath was a major influence on countless bands, including Metallica, who gave a tribute performance of Iron Man at the induction ceremony. Ozzy Osbourne demonstrated impressive tenacity by continuing to tour with Ozzfest despite the years of physical abuse. He went back into the recording studio to create Black Rain, 2007, which peaked at number 3 on the US charts, and Scream, which was also well received, 2010. Osbourne and his former Sabbath bandmates got back together in 2012 to play a string of shows and record the album 13, which was released the following year. The End, the band's appropriately named final tour, was announced in 2015. The album, which included unreleased songs from 13 and several live performances, was also released the following year under the same name. In February 2017, the tour came to an end in Birmingham, the hometown of the band members. The dates for Osbourne's final career tour, No More Tours 2, in North America were revealed a year later. The renowned headbanger insisted that he wasn't quitting music and would continue playing smaller gigs and staying involved with Ozzfest despite mentioning that he wanted to spend more time with his family. In 1982, Osbourne wed Sharon, his manager. Together, they had 3 kids, Jack, Kelly, and Amy. The Osbournes featured Jack and Kelly along with their parents, but Amy resisted. Osbourne also has several grandchildren as well as 3 children from a previous marriage to Thelma Riley. After spending more than 3 decades together, Sharon and Osbourne declared their intention to separate in May 2016. Us Weekly claims that Osbourne and Sharon broke up after Sharon learned of his alleged liaison with a famous hairstylist. But 2 months later, the couple who had been through so much together decided to try to salvage their union. With Ozzy and Jack's world detour at about the same time, father and son also returned to the comfortable world of reality television. The 3-season show followed the 2 travelers as they visited both well-known attractions and less traveled sites. Osbourne disclosed his Parkinson's disease diagnosis in a January 2020 interview with Robin Roberts of Good Morning America. He postponed the North American portion of his No More Tours Part 2 the following month, citing the need to travel to Europe for treatment and recuperation. But a few days later, the musician released Ordinary Man, his 12th solo studio album, demonstrating that he was still fighting against the end of the light. The album featured collaborations with Post Malone, Elton John, and Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash. The 9 Lives of Ozzy Osbourne chronicled Ozzy's life from his impoverished upbringing to his time in prison, his role as the frontman of the legendary Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees Black Sabbath, his Grammy Award-winning solo career, his status as one of rock's elder statesmen, and his role as a lovable dad on modern television. The 2-hour film examined Ozzy's ongoing efforts to reinvent both himself and his career in order to advance toward greater success. Ozzy reflected on the specifics of his accomplishments, setbacks, and special capacity for survival and endurance as he turned 70, including never-before-seen interviews about his most recent Parkinson's diagnosis. Interviews with Sharon, Kelly, and Jack Osbourne, as well as friends and musicians like Rick Rubin, Ice-T, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, Jonathan Davis, Post Malone, and others were included in the documentary, which was a selection of the 2020 South by Southwest Film Festival. Thanks for watching and see you in next video.